We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Daled Amid Beis in Mesechet Nedarim. This is Nedarim Daf 34b. The Gemara says, Amar Rava says, Rava, Haisa lefan of kikar shel hefker. Let's say in front of a person is a loaf of bread that is hefker, that is ownerless. V'yamar, and the person says, Kikar zu hektish. This loaf of bread should be hektish. It should be donated to the Beis HaMikdash. So the halacha is natzla la'ochel. If the person then takes it to eat it, so ma'al lefikula. So then he is committed me'ila according to the full value of the loaf of bread. He has taken the loaf of bread from the rishus of hektish to his own rishus, and that is me'ila. However, lahorisha lebanav, if he takes it in order to give it as an inheritance to his children, so then mo'al lefi tovas hana sheba. Then the me'ila is only according to the tovas hana. Many of the Rishonim say that the idea over here is that if he takes it to give it to his children, that actually is not effective. He never actually takes it from the Rishus of Hekdesh and gives it to anyone. However, he does get a certain benefit because his children, they now feel like they owe him something because he tried to give them something as an inheritance. So the only amount of property that he really took from Hekdesh is what's called Tovas Hana, the amount that they feel they owe him gratitude for the Yerusha that he was going to give them. That's the amount of the Me'ilah. And the Gemara continues, Boy minei Rav Chia bar Avin me Rava. Rav Chia bar Avin asked Rava the following question. Kikari olecha. Let's say a person says, my loaf of bread is going to be forbidden to you. And then v'nosna lo b'matana. Then he goes ahead and he gives it to the person as a gift. So it's no longer my loaf of bread, because if I'm giving it to you, it's now your loaf of bread. So mahu, so what would be the halacha? Kikari amarlo, he said my loaf of bread is what he said to him. So ki ise birishuse hudas, or what he means to say is, while it's in his rishus, then it's forbidden. But if he gives it over as a matana, maybe it would be permitted. O dilmor, maybe alecha amarle ilave shavise hektish, or maybe he was saying to you, this loaf is like hektish to you. It doesn't matter if I give it to you as a matana. Either way, it's going to be prohibited. So the Gemara says, Amarle said back to him, Pshita, it is obvious, the afagav di ahavale b'matana aser, even if he gives it to him as a gift, it is still prohibited. That's obviously was his intention that this loaf should be prohibited. But the Gemara says, Ela kikari olecha lafuke mai, but if that's the case, so when the person said, my loaf is usher to you, what is he coming to exclude? In what situation would it be permitted? Lav lafuke de ganva mine mignav, isn't it coming to exclude a situation, let's say it was stolen from the person, and then it gets to this particular individual. So in that case, it is considered in his rishus. It's not considered kikari, it's not my loaf anymore, and so then it would be permitted. And many of the Rishonim understand the Gemara to be saying, if that case would be permitted, certainly in a case where he gives it to him as a matana, it should be permitted. In other words, the Gemara is saying, in a case where you give it as a matana, it certainly should be permitted because it is no longer considered my loaf, and therefore it's not a problem. And the Gemara says, no, Amarle said to him, lo, no, when he said my loaf is going to be prohibited to you, la'afuke di azmene alo, it's coming to exclude a case. Let's say he invited him over for a meal, and so now already he designated that this loaf is going to go to this individual as part of being a guest of the meal. So in that situation, when he's a guest at the meal, that's going to be permitted. That's not going to be considered a case of kikari, of my loaf that is prohibited. However, in a situation of a matana, or in a situation of a geneva, that would in fact be prohibited. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Hey Amud Aleph.